Hello, this is Bill Bullard with RCAF USA, the voice of the independent cattle producer in the United States of America. Well, RCAF USA has been fighting to fix the broken cattle market for 2 decades, but we remain largely unsuccessful because the conventional meatpacking lobby convinced Congress that nothing was wrong, that every price collapse could be explained away by the economic law of supply and demand. But now, after 3 separate crises in just 5 years, the 2015 market collapse, the 2019 market collapse following the Tyson fire, and the ongoing 2020 market collapse attributed to COVID-19. Now the lobby that resisted all efforts to correct the dysfunctional market is now at least admitting that there appears to be a problem. So let's start there. The industry acknowledges it has a problem, and that problem is that too few fed cattle are sold in the industry's competitive cash market, which results in reduced competition throughout our entire industry. Now, this is a good start to solving the problem of our ever-shrinking cash market, which first fell below the 50% volume level about 15 years ago. Now, the competitive cash market serves 2 functions. First is price discovery. That's the interaction between willing sellers and willing buyers to negotiate a fair and competitive price at a particular point in time. And the second is to communicate to other participants the fair market value of cattle as revealed by cash market sales over time. Now, this is why formula contracts and all other alternative marketing arrangements are typically tied to the cash market, as the cash market establishes the fair market base price for their contracts. Now, price discovery works best in a perfectly competitive market, one with many buyers and many sellers. But we don't have that in our fed cattle industry. Instead, we have very few buyers and many sellers. So instead of a perfectly competitive market, we must settle for a robustly competitive market. Now, you can still have a robustly competitive market with few buyers and many sellers, provided all or most all of the cattle are sold through the process of negotiating a competitive price. And as the volume of cattle sold this way declines, so too does the robustness of competition, which then reduces the market's ability to discover a competitive price and reduces its ability to establish a fair market base price for all other procurement methods. So with our fed cattle market volume slightly below 30%, our industry lacks a robustly competitive market. And in May 2020, Senators Charles Grassley and Jon Tester introduced Senate Bill 3693 that forces a robustly competitive market upon an industry that now thinks the lack of industry competition is normal, because it has been that way for so long. Senate Bill 3693 recreates a robustly competitive market by requiring packers to purchase at least 50% of their cattle needs from the competitive cash market. Now, this will reset competition. And the reason for the 50% mandatory minimum is simple. Anything less will invite destructive buying power from the handful of remaining buyers and prevent the cash market from discovering a competitive price, which in turn distorts the market base price used in other procurement arrangements. Now, Senator Deb Fischer from Nebraska introduced a much weaker version of Senate Bill 3693, weaker because it does not reset competition in the marketplace. Instead, it would establish different minimums in different regions to be decided long into the future by a USDA rulemaking process. And economists are now being lined up to argue that not all regions need a robustly competitive market, and somehow price discovery and the establishment of a fair market base value for cattle will miraculously occur. Now, these efforts are designed to protect the packers so they can continue procuring the majority of their cattle needs without having to negotiate a competitive base price, such as they do through their formula contracts and other alternative marketing arrangements. In a just released report, the American Farm Bureau Federation stated that more negotiated trade would further bolster price discovery. And yet it then argues against the minimum cash trade requirement because, as they say, it could inhibit a producer's ability to enter into alternative marketing arrangements, which it describes as typically providing a premium above market value. Now, did you catch that circular argument? On the one hand, they agree more cash volume is needed to establish a fair market base price for cattle. And on the other, they don't want to require it because some producers are now receiving a premium above market value. So, just where is that market value determined, if not in the very cash market that they are loath to reset and protect? This is going to take all of us to reform the marketplace. And you're going to have to call your members of Congress, and I hope you will do that this week. And let them know under no uncertain terms that you support the Senator Grassley and Tester bill that would require packers to purchase at least 50% of their cattle procurement needs from the competitive cash market. With that, we're out of time. Thank you and have a productive week. Goodbye.